afternoon. My name is Dr. Nicole Fields. I'm the freshman counselor at Iroquois High School. And today we're going to talk about building relationships and encouraging academic growth. So I'll share my screen with you and we get started. All right. So a little bit about me. I am, again, the freshman counselor at Iroquois. This is going to be going into year 2, so I'm excited. I spent the first year at NTI and only in the building for 3 months. And then in addition to that, I am an adjunct professor at Spalding. I'm on the diversity and equality team with Dr. Damian Sweeney with KDE. And most importantly, I am the wife and the mother of Team Fields. That's my crew down there. That's my boo and our 3 lovely children. So our learning outcomes today are pretty simple. We're going to address the importance of relationships, discuss some barriers our students have been facing and what will be coming back, and some practices that we can do to kind of cultivate those relationships to encourage academic growth. But first, we need to talk about this. How you doing? I always like to do a check-in with everybody when I do presentations to see how you're doing. So get in the chat and let me know how you're doing. Are you ready for the upcoming year? Did you practice self-care this summer? Did you do a vacation? Did you do a staycation? It's important that counselors are doing something for self-care. We always talk about it, but it's important that we actually practicing it. So even if you had to do a staycation, maybe you could have gone to the hotel for one night by yourself or with your spouse or girlfriend trip, something, but you need a break from what's been going on. We've had a challenging year and we need to be refreshed when we get back in August. So hoping people putting stuff in the chat tell me how you doing. All right, let's get started. Students thrive academically, socially, and emotionally when counselors build strong relationships with them. I'm gonna read it again. Students thrive academically, socially, and emotionally when counselors build strong relationships with them. Not the principals, not the APs, not the Friskies. It is the counselors. We are the heartbeat of the building. However, with this pandemic and this gun violence and this social unrest that we've had in our city, we're going to have to dig deep into our toolkits to make sure that we're helping pushing this academic growth. Because to be honest, we know that there's going to be a gap. We've had several students that did not participate in NTI. We had students that did come back hybrid, but they were hybrid for 2 days and then back to virtual. We have this backpack league that's going on right now. That's where I'm at in one of my schools. And we have quite a few students coming in, but not enough. So we are going to see some gaps. And even the students that are here, you can see the gaps. Especially I'm in an elementary, and the students that don't know how to walk in the hallway, tying their shoes, some of the little basic things with the littles, but some of the big ones, not, you haven't had to read anything for a year. Like your parents or guardians haven't made you just read books outside of playing on the video games. You may be in your classes, but are you really in tune to what's going on? So I am a firm believer in the school auntie. That is, I'm not your mom. I'm a mom of 3. But the school auntie is that person that you can go to and you can talk to, that you have a relationship where we talk about your academics. We talk about what's going on with you socially and how you feeling emotionally, because they know that you're going to have that transparent conversation. And we may have school uncles out there as well, but I am a school auntie. They are real. We are real. Uncles out there, they are real and we are needed. Last year, I spent my year of #school auntie. I'm continuing my year as being a school auntie because I think that it's important that we are our whole wholesome selves when we are with our students. And when we are transparent and they see us, we see them. So that's how we build strong relationships with them. So what's really going on? It's been a crazy year. We were home March 13th. I don't know if you were like me, I thought, we're going to be back in spring break, and then spring break turned into summer turned into Christmas. And next thing you know, a lot's going on while we were home. We had the whole George Floyd murder. We had the George Floyd trial. in the protests. And then we had our own Breonna Taylor happen in our city where we put on curfews. And then all of this pandemic, people not knowing what it is. Is it a cough? Is it a flu? Or, do we get the vaccine? Do we not get the vaccine? Then the insurrection happened. What in the world is an insurrection? Like, it's crazy. Just stuff was happening. And then currently, the number of gun violent deaths that we are having in our city and just the shootings, period. Um, Now we got people snatching kids out front who's playing in the front yard. I mean, all of this is happening in real time right now. So as adults, as we process what's happening, how do you think our students are processing what's happening with them? Hold, please. Okay. So truth moment. This is like the third recording, and it's happened every time. And we're not going to re-record. We're going to keep moving. So hopefully the lights doesn't go out again. But all of this is happening, and we just don't know. Like, I'm not really sure what our students are going to be like when they get back. But I will tell you, there's going to be a gap, and we have to put our capes on, and we've got to show up and be those school aunties and school uncles to help them process this. So you need to ask yourself today, are you really ready for August 11th to help them with the academic gaps, social gaps, and mental gaps? But most importantly, we're going to focus on academics today. So how do counselors impact academics? We provide the academic and career resources, and it's just not the generic thing. Okay, you want to go be a doctor, you're going to go to college. It's not that. Even in high school, we know that college is not for everybody. So we have these amazing academies at these different high schools, and they have pathways in which they can go to. And our jobs is try to figure out what is the best pathway for that student. And really, those conversations start as early as elementary. What do you want to be when you grow up? And I remember when I was an elementary counselor, having those conversations about what middle school you should go to, and then how you get to the next high school that has that pathway. So you have to have those conversations early and give them those resources, whether it's a career day in middle school, or if it's bringing in high school students that are currently in those pathways to middle school students, or taking high school students on college tours, things like that. We are the ones who help them with those academic pieces and those career pieces. We guide students in decision-making skills. Again, back to what they want to do. What middle school you want to go to, what high school you want to go to. Do I really want to be in AP classes? Do I want to do dual credit? You are that person that they're talking to. They're not really talking to their parents about AP and dual credit classes. This CTE course I have to take, or this exam, you are that person when it comes to their academics. We work in collaboration with school psychs to really look at assessments. This is that ECE board, or maybe the 504 port. I know for me, I have a son that has an IEP. I had an IEP for speech growing up, and I remember working with, talking to the counselor, and my parents working with the counselor. But I know as a counselor in high school, we have conversations. In middle school, I had conversations with my students about their IEPs. And to be transparent, I had conversations in elementary. This is what this is for. This is how we help you so you can be better academically. So we do bring that qualitative piece, that voice to the numbers that sometimes psychologists use. And I think that's important that we remember that. We promote that mental and physical health, because you cannot worry about academics unless this part is addressed. I'm a big person. You have to Maslow before you bloom. So if they're hungry, if they're sleepy, if they're tired, if they're, not coming in together, then they're not going to focus on the academics. So it's important for counselors to recognize those barriers to their learning so we can help them and be more successful when it comes to academics. Now, I was not a traditional school teacher and then coming in from teaching straight into counseling. That was not my career path. And I'm thankful that my career path has been different. So I worked in corporate 14 years at UPS, and the nonprofit as an outreach director, and then the Frisky, shout out to my Friskies, and then as an elementary, middle, and high school counselor. All of that is great, but sometimes I will run into not knowing exactly what the test was. Like, what is that? Like, I knew what K-prep was. I'm like, what's MAP? What is MAP used for? So I found the academic expert who is dealing with that. And that's okay, because everybody has their different gifts. What is CTE? What are we testing with that test? What is a coyote test? And the reason why it's important that you know what tests are being offered in your building. So when parents or students have questions about it, you can speak to it. That is nothing worse than someone asking me about something that I have no clue. Like, I don't know. I don't know what that is. But if I'm at least somewhat knowledgeable of what MAP is, I know what Brigance is. You know, you can help parents and help students understand why these exams and tests are important. Sorry, guys, I got sunburn on my ear and it's peeling. These virtual platforms that we have this FEV tutoring that we have. We had all these different academic platforms that we're using, and each one is different for that particular building. So you need to know what your building is using, so that way you can help students and parents. And then get into the classrooms. I love to visit classrooms, and I might not even be doing guidance, which we don't call it guidance anymore. I might not be in there to do that. I'm just in there checking on students. I'm in there looking at them working. What you working on? I'm in their career options, a freshman seminar, and they're talking about resumes. I'm like, so what you want to do? You know, what you want to be? You know, those conversations like that. Are they in math and they working on algebra 1? I'm like, dang, I remember that slope, you know, and so kind of talking to them so I know what is happening. I mean, if he's falling asleep or she's falling asleep, why are you falling asleep? So when I have conversations with your parents or guardians, I can say, well, you know, I was in his math class and I noticed that he was going to sleep. Or I've been noticing after lunch, he's different because I'm in lunch with them. So get in the classrooms, talk to the experts so you have more well-roundedness when it comes to helping students academically, because we're not just the social emotional piece and the warm hugs and smiles. We have a big job to do when it comes to academics. This conversation is critical and necessary. The first thing I want to say is get out of your office and out of your comfort zone. I cannot tell you how it just works my nerve and my spirit when I find out the counselors are just in their offices. If you are in your office, that's a problem. You should be out and about. If you're in your office, you should be there with a student or perhaps taking a phone call. Occasionally, yeah, we have to check our emails, but you should not be in your office 80% of the day. That's a negative. Truly have an open door policy. My door is always open. The only time my door is closed is if I'm on the phone talking to someone or if I have somebody in my office talking to me. Because I eat lunch at my desk and it's open. So kids are popping in, oh, Dr. Fields, what you eat? I'm like, you in my business. While you in my lunch, you breathing on my food. But they usually laugh about it or whatever. They popping in, they know it's open, they can come and see me. Mobile desks are the best things. They just desk on wheels, basically. When I was at Moore, they had a projector card. I used a projector card and brought in my own stool, and I would post up down in the 6th grade hallway, the 6th grade wing. So when the kids would come out, they had an issue with the teacher, come here, let me see you, what's going on, let me get you right and get you back in class. Because ultimately that's wasted minutes when they have to come all the way to the other building to come to your counselor suite. I know counselors love that. They find comfort in when you have your support team there, but I'm a firm believer of being on the floor with the students. I can come find you if I need you. So I don't know how other counselors are dealing with the academies and versus the suites. Let me know, put it in the chat. What's your thoughts on that? We have mobile desks coming this year at Iroquois, so I'm pumped about it. Elementary, I used to love, in middle and high, eating lunch with the students. Now in elementary, sometimes I actually would take my lunch and sit down and eat with them, have lunch bunch. But middle and high school, I was so worried about getting the tea because there's always something going on. So you got to know who's going what, where the fight's about to be. But they get to see you. I would bring my little snacks sometimes down there. But I was walking around, seeing what was going on. And in high school, sometimes counselors have their PLCs. There's nothing wrong with that. I just don't want to have my computer. I want to make my way around and have conversations. And if I'm going to bring my computer, I kind of give them a heads up. Okay, so today you have issues with your schedule. I'm bringing my computer tomorrow. So I'm going to be at the table up here. You need to come see me. Otherwise, I'm talking to you, sitting down, figure out what's going on, who's not eating. That's a big thing. Okay, why they're not eating or who's stuffing their face with food. So that's the things that I'm watching to see what is going on so I know how I can help you. This is your students on the job. This is really to the high school counselors. I love popping up and seeing them who's working at the mall, who's working at McDonald's, who's working whatever. And I'm not a McDonald's fan, but they got the coldest fries out there though. So give me some fries, and I go show up and have my kids. They're excited to see them, and they start to build that trust with you. Like, oh, they took time to come see me in my job, and then they'll come tell you, you know, what their hopes or dreams or fears, all that stuff is, and then we can kind of help push them in that academic area that we want to help them get to. Utilizing technology, it is your friend. I know a lot of counselors don't feel comfortable with technology, but it's essential. We have to use it. Social media platforms are out there for a reason. If you are a counselor and you do not have a Twitter account or a Twitter page for your team, like we have one for Iroquois and I have my individual one, you need to utilize that. You need to utilize your YouTube. I use Facebook for my family, but it is not for work. But I tweet often, and it's important that you put stuff out there. If you're not shamed, hand two taps of the hand, but you have to. You need to change your practice because that is how we are reaching the masses. Find out the resources within your building. Hook up with your mental health practitioners, your youth service center coordinators. This is your academic leads or whatnot. I know y'all gonna dog me out in the comments, but it's okay. And y'all need to really create that student support team. You can talk about academics and social emotional as well, but the social emotional piece 9 times out of 10 impacts their academics. So having those conversations and having the right people at the table is essential. I like weekly meetings. Some people do bi-weekly, but something can change in the drop of a dime like that. So I want to know what's going on. You know, I'm working with the student this, they're working with my practitioner on this. The frisky is getting this. The teacher's giving him supplemental assignments. You see how this is all working together for our child, our students' academic. And don't forget the parents and guardians. Oftentimes, the older they get, the less likely you hear it's what the streets say. It's not always true. When I talk to parents and they say, well, I haven't talked to the teacher or nobody's called me. And then I always encourage them, you call us. We don't always, you know, it's a lot, but try your best to contact parents and not always just for something bad. I like to call the parents and be like, you know, today Tyrone came in and he rocked it out. I saw him in science class today. He was just answering all the questions. He was attentive, you know, because we usually know Tyrone in there sleep in science, but today he did an amazing job. There's no big eyes, little U's in the word team. We are in this together. And most importantly, home visits. I know that they put us a pause on home visits for a while, but it's important that we do them. Don't do them by yourself. I have 2 phenomenal mental health practitioners in my building that will go out with me at a drop of a dime. They're like, hey, let's go. Or I can tell them, hey, can you go do a home visit for me because I got this going on. They'll go and report back because we have that relationship. We are in this together for the student. And it does not have to be something just, oh my God, social emotional. Yeah, I think we get caught up in that. But academics are just as important as that as well. So communications and check-in. You need to know who your stakeholders are. This is your principals, your APs, your co-counselors, your students, your parents. This is community members. I mean, you right there, a lot of our schools are by different businesses and restaurants and churches. Why are we not collaborating with them to help them help us with our students? Working with other counselors, you know, we're right there. I'm not far from Dawes. I would call and Melita in a minute, you know. Even I would go back to Moore and I would call Mr. Shoulders, Mr. Mitchell. You know, you have your resources there. Utilize that when you're working on your communication. Because when I first started, I wanted to know, like, how do you communicate with high school parents? Or how do you do this? So you communicate pretty much the same as you do in elementary. I think that being elementary first really helped me as a high school person because I have that elementary heart. And people want that warm and fuzzy all the way to high school, whether they tell you or not, but they do. But you got to know how to communicate with them, with all your stakeholders. Think about what you did pre-pandemic, pandemic, in the midst of the pandemic, and what we're doing post-pandemic. We're not the same like we were a whole year ago. So you can't keep doing what you did in the pre-pandemic. And truthfully, what we did in the pandemic is not going to work post-pandemic because now we're back face to face. But some people will be hybrid. So we have to just adjust what we do in our practice for communication. So technology is key, but communicating, period, whether it's different newsletters or open forums, something, we have to do things differently. I am a big fan of structured communication. in connection with students. Now, I only did 2 things this past year, but my goal is to do 3 this year. So this is just something I came up with. So Mondays could be mass one-call messages on Monday. It could be sending out academic tips to everybody in your community. It could just be just generic tips from the counselor. This week we're going to feature Counselor Dr. Fields. Next week we're going to feature Counselor Reese and her academy. So they can meet the counselor. Then you go through and you add other stuff. But just mass communication so parents know I'm looking forward to the information that I'm getting from my counselors on Monday. Twitter Tuesday. You could do the same thing instead of mass communication. You could do it on the social media. It could be your Instagram. It could be, if you have a Facebook page for counseling. I just think Twitter is just where it's at. So, and it meets a gazillion people and it goes out, people can share it. And I always tag your principal because your principal knows a lot of people on their platform as well. Wellness Wednesday. This is something that I did do, that I love doing, that I started in January. And sending out self-care tips, mindfulness ideas. I love the Dollar Tree. It's always something that you can find. So I would find different things recorded or put it on a Google slide and put it out there. So if you did see it, hey, make copies, share it. Hey, this is what they did at Airquays. We're doing it here. Share it. Everybody needs some wellness. Talk about it Thursday, which is going to be my how you doing, my hot topic Thursday. So this is going to be what's happening in the streets. What's everybody talking about? Back to school. Back to school transition. Fun things to do in the fall. Just fun things. It doesn't necessarily have to be all centered around academics, but the goal is to add academics in there. But just talk about it Thursday, whatever the hot topic is, and something. Film Friday is that there are a gazillion films out there that have motivational messages. We can find little clips of them and the little memes and things like that and send it out to the students. I think they will love that. So just something, a structured connection with the counselor that we can send out. So something like this that you can do, you can tweak it, or just something that you can do. And it can always involve academics. Let that be the first thing because we know there's going to be a gap. And then we're going to have the social emotional piece as well. That is all I have. We have about 10 minutes left according to my watch. Let me show you this. This is my email, and that's me with no glasses. And that's my Twitter, Dr. Fields 2020. My counselors, we have counselors IHS. We have a Google page. If you haven't seen it, I know Dr. Searcy has shared our other pages. But we try to really expand upon what we're currently doing. So I can't wait till we get back to really talk about how we're going to step our game up and how we're going to deal with this gap that's coming in academically. How I'm going to deal with this gap social emotionally. We deal with it by relationships. That's the ground level of everything. You need to embrace the school auntie within and the school uncle. And that right there is the foundation. And that is how we become successful counselors and help our students reach academic achievements. That's my piece. That's all I have. We've had 2 sessions go out, and that's it. So I hope you learned something today. Shoot me an email, send me a tweet, something, and let me know. I'm readily available. I want to learn as much from you as you learn from me. Peace and blessings.